It is the Matt Mosley Show, and man, what a show we have planned for you. In fact, we've got folks for a good hour today. We'll get into this controversy surrounding Bill Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame, the story that hit last night from ESPN with Seth Wickersham, Don Van Natta, and wow, there he is. There's Bill. There's Bill's reaction to that. Kev, hit the breaking news sounder. We did have because Tom Brady, none other than Tom Brady, has sounded off on this story. As you knew, he would be asked to at some point. He was on a show in Seattle today, and Brady just saying, "I don't understand it." I mean, I was with him every day. If he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's really no coach that should ever be a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is completely ridiculous because people deserve it. All right. And these voters, oh my goodness, there's Bill. Bill's reacting to each thing that comes in. I mean, we need to have like a quote with some just audio of Bill Polian, and then keep putting that face up there. Just the sight of Polian. Oh, and Dungy was on this thing too.
That is my great favorite Colts. Belichick video ever. Because do you know when this happened?
What was it? What had happened that led to that?
This is when the Colts beat New England in Germany in 23 and pretty much sealed the deal of him being no longer with the Patriots.
All right. I mean, he's had a rough enough day without you adding to it with comments.
It can never be rough enough for Belichick for a Colts fan, my friend.
I know, and believe me, with your Hoosiers cap on, Kevin did, as we've well established, he graduated from Indiana University, and they just won a national title, so still basking in that glow. Now he has more excitement because all the Colts can laugh about Belichick not getting into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot, which, again, I will get into this, and we're fortunate enough through my long career in sports. I've worked with a lot of people, a lot of Hall of Fame voters, including Rick Goose Gosselin, was a longtime Dallas area voter and represented the Dallas Morning News, one of the great draft gurus ever. We may have Rick on tomorrow to get his thoughts on this. I mean, but his thoughts will be interesting too, Kev, because he was very close, had a great relationship with Dungy and Bill Polian over the years. And in this story, Bill Polian, depending on where you land on this story, I get the fact, Kevin, that, I think most sports writers and most people in the media, and including a lot of players across the NFL, think this is just beyond ridiculous and cannot believe it. I also get that there's a lot of fans, not just, by the way, Indianapolis Colts fans. There's a lot of your just sports fans out there that are predisposed to hate. And, they've loved that he's been made fun of for all the stuff with dating the 24-year-old woman and Jordan Hudson. They've loved how humiliated he has been. But now a lot of fans would admit, hey, given Spygate and everything, still, the guy has 6 Super Bowls, unbelievable run. No coach has this kind of, Lombardi, put all the great ones, Hallis. Nobody has these numbers. Like, this is unfathomable. But now, again, and that's why it's going to be great. We're going to have my buddy Calvin Watkins, who voted and has just written a column up on the Dallas Morning News about the process, about what he voted. And, of course, these people, there's 50 voters. You needed 80% to get in. So the math tells us that there are at least 11 who had to vote against Bill Belichick getting in. Now, from what I can tell, they've screwed up the voting like crazy. So you throw in like L.C. Greenwood, player for the Steelers, Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, who are about to play. He's about to be involved in his 7th Super Bowl, or chasing his 7th Super Bowl title. He's been in more than that, but he's chasing his 7th world title, which is going to make it even tougher for Jerry. Jerry, who said he would retire after he catches Kraft. If Kraft wins 7, I don't think Jerry can catch him. Jerry has the 3. Could Jerry ever get to 4? Could all the Cowboys fans would die happy if he just get a 4th one. I don't know why he's talking about trying to get to 6. Now he may have to get to 7 before he retires. He still thinks he can beat Kraft's record, which is fascinating. Now, Kev, remind me though, when we have Calvin on, I mean, we'll get his take on the new Cowboys defensive coordinator and all that stuff. But our main point today is the fact that he is a voter, and again, these voters are in high demand today, and a lot of them are coming out and saying, "Hey, I voted for Belichick." They don't want to be associated with this silliness. I think it's silliness. And Kev, as we get into this, I want to hear your opinions too, because what I can't totally tell is, you're a lifelong Colts fan. And so I think it's hard. It's going to be hard for me to separate like your giddiness over and kind of laughing at this over like making a real argument that he shouldn't be in, which I don't think there is. I don't think there is an argument. I think again,
I can give you one right now.
Hold on.
Okay.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
I promise. I do want to say on an NFL standpoint, from an NFL frame point, we're going to get to all this. All right. And Kevin, I mean, we got to, that's the thing, man. We've got 2 hours. So you don't want to spill out your whole argument. Throughout the show, I'm going to give you opportunities. I'll give you opportunities. I'll hear you out. I'll certainly refute a lot of that. But again, I've been around him. I've had interviews with him. I don't particularly love Belichick. I respect what he's done in the NFL, and this thought of like, oh, he had Brady the whole time. Well, Landry had Don Meredith and Danny White for a lot of it. Chuck Noll had Terry Bradshaw. I don't love this idea of, Shula had Greasy, and then he had Dan Marino. Coryell, who's in with a winning percentage of like 111 wins and like 80 something losses. He's in. Now I know he was a great innovator and all that, but so is Belichick. Goodness gracious. And in the early days of Tom Brady's ascendance, let's not act like they didn't help him immensely by putting a great defense around him. And I think most people would agree that Bill Belichick is one of the greatest defensive coaches ever. And he helped Bill Parcells win 2 Super Bowls with the New York Giants. So again, did he try to cheat? Yes. I do think it's funny that today you've got in defense of him, you got people out there admitting they've cheated. I mean, Kev, we've got Jimmy Johnson, the great Jimmy Johnson, 2 Super Bowls with the Cowboys, certainly helped put the team together. Did put the team together to get a 3rd. Here's what Jimmy had to say earlier, and there's another one that I'm referencing, but this one says if they're this is a good one, Kev. Yeah, this is the right one. If they're using the excuse of Spygate, that's ridiculous. Many teams, including ourselves, tried it. I'm sure Jerry Jones is like, Jimmy, why are you doing this? Howard Mudd at Kansas City, who later coached for Bill Polian and Tony Dungy, And you remember him, Kev, as a big Colts fan. You remember Howard Mudd. You remember the beard. You know what Mudd looks like. Now, it's not – Tom Moore's a big, heavy guy that was associated with Peyton and was the quarterback's coach and great guy with Dungy and all those years. Howard Mudd was a different dude. So the later coach for Bill Polian and Tony Dungy gave us the idea. He was the best. We didn't get anything and stopped, but many teams gave it a try. We cheated too. Well, Super Bowls were not legit, man. We were trying to cheat, but it didn't really work for us. Now, I will add on Spygate, they got caught. Jets turned them in. Mangini. It was a brazen. Of course, in many Patriot circles, he's still viewed as the ultimate rat. And they ratted out Bill. They get caught, and all they did is start. Now again, and let's remember, Deflategate was a Tom Brady thing. Bill was never implicated in that. Now he was in Spygate. He got fined $500,000, and the team got a first-round pick taken away. But what did they do? What did they do when they had a first-round pick taken away? They kept winning. They kept going to Super Bowls, and they kept winning Super Bowls after they'd been caught trying to cheat on the side, with the video and all of that. So again, I think it's ridiculous. Before we hear from Kevin, because I am interested in this thought. And again, here's what I'm fine. Fans, I get it. They cheated. I think my wife has that same opinion. They don't deserve it. Good. I'm glad he has to wait. Whatever. The wild part to me is that there were at least 11 people who agreed. Now, what we'll hear from Calvin coming up is a little bit of an explanation, because it's not just a straightforward, they all thought he shouldn't be in. They gave on the senior committee, they changed the voting to where people had there's 5 of these people, right? Like Elsie Greenwood and Kraft and some of these others. Roger Craig, I think, is in there. Who else? Somebody. Anyway, there's so you vote for 3 of these people. And invariably, so you might have had people thinking, well, I'd like to try to get these people in because surely Belichick's going to get in. Well, he didn't. He didn't get enough votes. And this is not supposed to leak. See, the voters don't know. The voters don't even know. They found out like the rest of us. They kept it from them because there was a leak last year, and so they don't tell the voters. So the leak, where is the leak coming from? Where is the leak? The leak did not come from the voters this year. The leak had to come from inside the house. The leak had to come from the Hall of Fame itself, somebody within the Hall of Fame. All right. Appreciate everybody who's with us today. Large crew. We got the Twitter group is out there. I want to encourage all our Twitter people to get on the YouTube. And Kevin has sent, we'll take a break in about 25 after, and then we'll get ready because we actually do have a Hall of Fame voter joining us, and that would be Calvin Watkins. And I want to give Calvin the chance to talk because there's some people out there basically putting lists together of who is helping, and it also needs to be mentioned. And Kevin, you and I can have some back and forth here in a minute about some of these Colts people. There's obvious thoughts that Dungy and Polian, because of their hatred of all those, those great Peyton versus Tom and the great battles over the years between the Colts and the Patriots. And then the fact that, that was somebody from the Colts. Let's remember that, the Deflategate, the guy who, it was the late, great Chris Mortensen had some of that out there, but some of that came from the former columnist for the Indy Star, who I knew over the years. Kev, what's his name? Bob. He went and he was writing for a TV station.
Bob Kravitz.
Yeah.
What a grumpy old man. I don't like Bob. I used to like Bob Kravitz, but
I'm saying Kravitz was involved in
Yeah.
Deflategate. He was one of the people who was writing about that. And so again, Deflategate turned out to be kind of a fun, weird story, and we'll never know for sure. I mean, nothing in the end really happened to Brady, although he did miss games. He did miss games. You have to say that. So I guess he did. Something did happen to him. But in that case, Belichick was kind of, I think, was kind of like, what in the world is going on here? And anyway, we won't get into Deflategate. If we want to talk about Spygate, I'm fine with that. Now, other NFL news, real quick. We do have a new head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Welcome to the NFL, Todd Monken. Todd Monken. You say, well, wait, where'd Monken come from? He's been with the Baltimore Ravens as their offensive coordinator. All right. Todd Monken. And, boy, my man Jim Schwartz, I was hoping Schwartz would come to the Cowboys because Schwartz is a longtime friend of mine. Schwartz said, I'm out of here, man, because apparently they would like to keep Schwartz as their defensive coordinator. Schwartz left the building and said, y'all can have it. And very angry that he did not get the job. They've brought in Monken. This is rough news for John Harbaugh of the New York Giants, because Monken was his guy and had been his guy with the Ravens. And then also, Kev, did you see that story where they just the Sean Payton's just kind of firing everybody? Hey, appreciate you guys helping me get to the AFC title game. You're fired. You're fired. They fired the offensive coordinator, Joe Lombardi. Now, again, Payton is over there with the laminated chart. He appears to be the man calling plays and all that. But Joe Lombardi was his trusted guy with the Saints before they went to Denver. So Joe Lombardi, thanks for the good times. You out. You gone. Also, wide receivers coach, I think, Kev. Wide receivers coach, they said you out. You gone. So how about, I mean, what a deal there. Now, Kev, let me make sure. I want to stay on point here. I want to stay on time. I was getting some text. I just want to make sure. I hadn't heard from Calvin. Okay. Calvin will be joining us at about 1:30. Kev, come on here. I want you to visit. I want to visit with you a little bit. And I enjoy, by the way, I'm fine with difference of opinion. I embrace that. What do they say, Kevin? Embrace debate. And I will hear you out on this. I mean, I was shocked like a lot of America. And even though, Kevin, you probably are fine with this, I bet there was some level of you being shocked at this news, even though you're kind of, I think, probably okay with it. I think most of America was shocked to find out that Bill Belichick, he of 6 Lombardis, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, a place where Tom Flores, Don Coryell, there's some people. This man has 301 wins in the NFL, counting his wins with the Browns. He has 301. That's second only to Don Shula, who coached from the time he was like 26, 27 years old. He started back there with the Baltimore Colts back in the day, and then goes to the Dolphins and then wins a million more games before he finally steps away in the 1990s. My gosh, Shula was there until literally like 96 or 97. Was Jimmy the one who replaced Shula?
Shula started wearing a suit on the sideline, and he finished wearing a starter jacket, like a pullover.
A cool looking. I had one of those. I had some Dolphins gear. I got to work a Dolphins-Cowboys game one time, like as kind of like an equipment guy when I was a kid. And there was a punter for the Dolphins named Reggie Roby, and I was out there catching his punts.
Yep,
and that
I remember
dude
Roby.
could flat out. He could.
Yeah.
His hang time was unbelievable. But Kev, now, I wondered, because here's the thing. There's a disconnect with like old school mainstream sports media right now, and then the common man fan. You're a good person to bridge the gap because you're still a very common man fan, but you also do podcasting and talk about these teams. And so you put a lot of thought into these things. Kevin, you think perhaps the voters got it right here?
Well, you mentioned shock. I wasn't shocked. Maybe I would consider pleasantly surprised because you mentioned the cheating. And to me, I don't know that there needs to be another debate. Just ask Barry Bonds or Pete Rose whether cheating allows you to be in a Hall of Fame. The answer is no. If you cheat and you know you've been caught, that's the end of the story. You don't get to be remembered for all time for the good times if you got there through sliminess. And I know I'm from the other side.
Pete Rose didn't get there through sliminess. Pete Rose got there by being one of the greatest ball players of ever. There was no slime. There was no slime in all those years he was playing.
It only took one incident to slime the whole thing.
When he was a manager. It's a joke. But
Same
that was Major League Baseball. That was not really the Hall of Fame. That was MLB who shut him down.
Right.
NFL has nothing to do with this. This is the Hall of Fame and its voters who have done this to Belichick. But go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said we can't talk about Deflategate, which directly impacted Andrew Luck and the Colts. But if there was a problem in your house and you don't know about it, then that is your problem as a leader. And so to say it had nothing to do with Belichick, he may not have known about it, but that's his fault for not knowing about it as the leader or organization.
That had anything to do with Luck. Anything happened to Luck because of that.
That was the game. That was the AFC Championship game.
But I'm saying even Deflategate itself is looked upon now as like, I don't really think that even happened. Like even Brady's not held. Like they ended up in the end clearing him. I'm just saying they did. And he ended
why would we ever listen to
they had to hand
the GOAT? He's not the GOAT either. He's that belongs to Joe Montana.
Okay. Hey, we need to get to Calvin though. We got to take a quick break. Yeah.
All right. So I'll hold the rest for later.
It's fine. I love this. Don't get me wrong. I think you're dead wrong, but that's okay. And you can even get involved when we get Superfan on. We're going to have Superfan at 2. Patriot Superfan Cam Stewart, who's part of the Rogue Media family. Kevin, we got new family members on the way. One called today. I mean, my gosh, Kevin, I hope you and I are still here. I mean, we got a whole new wave of podcasters joining us. Goodness gracious. It's pretty exciting. Legends, local legends, I should say, that are going to be joining us. Okay, speaking of legends, my buddy, great friend, Calvin Watkins, who is a Pro Football Hall of Fame voter, joins us next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. Don't buy from social media ads unless the ad is from a verified company. When you click those ads, you open yourself up to fraud. If it seems too good to be true, it almost always is.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NordVPN.com. Welcome to Kitbag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kitbag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's KITBAG.com. Kitbag.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
We offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at bizchair.com to transform your business.
Circulon C1 Series Clad with Scratch Defense Non-Stick. Maximize cooking, minimize cleaning. Discover the unmatched durability and elegance scratch-free, worry-free, forever.
At Tusain's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusains.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
Farmhounds offers natural treats and chews made with quality products that support family farm, regenerative agriculture, and humane farming practices. Give your dog the best with wholesome, organic ingredients that promote health and happiness. Shop now at farmhounds.com.
Oh, the timing is just beautiful. And, I mean, he would only recognize me in these shades, so I'm going to leave him on. This is an opportunity to bring on a buddy who I don't need any opportunity. I love doing that anyway, and would always love talking Cowboys with him. My longtime friend and my colleague, Calvin Watkins from the Dallas Morning News, joining me now. And Calvin, I mean, you know, on a regular day, we could be talking about the Cowboys, their new defensive coordinator, their new staff and everything. But what a time to be a voter in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I bet you were you know, you guys have all of a sudden sort of become under siege because it's like, oh my gosh, you're all being sort of painted by the same broad brush. And I appreciate your column on the Dallas Morning News sort of explaining. So, Calvin, just so I know, and by the way, welcome to the Mosley, this new YouTube version where we can see you and kind of see what you're up to. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks, man. This is my first time here. I love the background. You got a beautiful background there of what's going on in Waco and your home and everything.
Yeah,
I think it's a Dallas Morning News story behind you to your right. I don't know. But
yeah, I got some of my old 1A stories. You know, you and I used to have a few of those back in the day. We may have some new studios soon, Calvin. So I may actually have to leave the house, which that would be tough. What was your level of surprise, shock? When you saw the story come out yesterday, Seth Wickersham, Don Van Natta from ESPN, I know The Athletic had something as well, but that he was not, that Bill Belichick would not be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm sure your first thought was like, how did they get this? You know, we don't even know, right? You don't even know. Obviously, we kind of can probably guess how somebody obviously leaked that story, but what was your level of surprise when you saw this story hit?
I was very surprised. Like you, I was like, okay, how did they know, right? Because none of the voters, we voted January 13th, and no one told us who got in, right? The Hall of Fame said, we're not going to tell you because there was some leaks last year. So they said, we're not going to tell you who gets in. We will tell you eventually, maybe the week before the official announcement or the week of the official announcement. And then I was like a little shocked about why Bill Belichick didn't get in. I mean, the man is like, he's got 6, world titles as a head coach, 8 overall. I think he's 3rd in wins in league history. He's won more division titles than anybody that has coached in the NFL. He turned the Patriots around. I mean, I just don't understand it. Apparently, there's some politics going on. that, and there's only 50 voters, right? So you got to get 80% of the vote. So maybe someone's manipulating the votes in terms of convincing people he's not worthy of the Hall of Fame.
The process was tweaked pretty recently, I guess, since you started voting. This is your third year to vote. I'm sure it's become. I'm sure it felt like a great honor, and now you're like, do I really want to keep doing this?
Should have done the Boxing Hall of Fame. That was easier.
Did the process change in the sense that, as I understand it, these five sort of, you got the old players, you got like Robert Kraft, a contributor, you got a coach involved, like basically that's a vote where you basically vote, yay or nay, yes or no, and you can you can vote for like 3 of the 5 of these, what we would call the senior. Can you explain to us, you did a nice job in that column, by the way, but like, why was this done? Because I feel like maybe what's happened here is an unintended consequence. Like maybe we have something happening that they probably had a good reason for doing this, but even your colleague Dan Pompei has said he thought that was a bad move in the voting process. Now, you may not want to be that critical of them. That's fine. But what happened? What was the big change here that perhaps could have led to something like this?
Well, originally, as it stands now, you vote. You're going to vote between a coach, a contributor, which could be a former commissioner, it could be an owner, it could be someone who worked for NFL Films, could be a media member, a broadcaster, and a senior player, right? So that's all in one category now. So basically, those 5 people are like battling each other for 80% of the vote. Before, it used to be separate. If there was one coach, you would say, okay, we'll vote for that coach. If not, you don't have to do that. If it was one senior player, okay, you can vote for one senior player. It's whatever. But all those guys used to be lumped in with the modern era players. So, but now it's separated, and we vote separately from the modern era players. Like last year, Sterling Sharp was the only person from that group that got in the Hall of Fame, right? And so now this year's group was, as we mentioned, Bill Belichick, Roger Craig, Robert Kraft, L.C. Greenwood, and Kenny Anderson. Yeah. Those were the 5 we were voting from. And whoever got the highest vote, or at least 80% of the vote, will get in the Hall of Fame. So they're all competing against each other instead of separately. And then we vote for the 15 modern era players. Whoever gets the highest vote, or 80%, they get in. The objective for the Pro Football Hall of Fame is to get the smaller the classes, the better, right? That's their goal.
All right. Did you sense any, like, you came away from this vote, and it seems like to me the voters didn't really sense some sort of huge opposition. And I know we got to be careful here, because that's one of the things when you sign up to be a voter, you can't really talk about what happens during the voting process. You can say which way you voted. But to me, that would lead to your level of surprise would be, wait a second. And it's already been acknowledged by voters that it did come up, but it was almost more in passing. Is that an accurate portrayal in your mind of how this thing was discussed in the voting? Again, don't want to get you in any trouble here, but that it wasn't like some kind of big knockdown drag out thing, like we're, half the groups fighting to keep him out and half the groups fighting to get him in.
Every every person who's presented. So say this year I presented Darren Woodson, right? The Cowboys safety. After you present him, then there's a discussion about the particular individual, whether it's the pros and the cons. There were pros and cons on Bill Belichick, right? There was Spygate, there was the Deflategate, right? So those things were discussed as they would any player. Julius Peppers, who got inducted into the Hall of Fame last year, he got suspended for the last 4 games of the 2002 season for performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
That was discussed, and yet he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. So all the positives and negatives are discussed on every candidate. That's the best way I can answer that.
Okay, and like with Woodson, you're right. It can be brought up, and then, by the way, when you present for somebody like Woody, generally, so this thing, the voting meeting can go on from, let's say, somewhere in the neighborhood of like maybe as long as 6 to 8 hours.
Maybe a little longer. We start around 9 a.m. Central.
Okay.
And might not end until 6 p.m. Central.
Okay. And before you vote on somebody, like, say, the Woody vote, you get to have your say, and then it's open to the floor for some discussion, right? And then and each candidate gets hopefully like a fair shake and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm glad. We needed somebody like you to try to get Woody, and I'm sure you made a great case. I mean, again, Woody makes an incredible case for himself, but I also think sometimes it's helpful to have a very likable and talented presenter. All right, and that's what
sometimes
it
is. Yeah, some of the former Hall of Famers, some of the Hall of Famers, or guys who are trying to get in the Hall of Fame, they have complained over the years about the presenters. They said, "Well, can I hire somebody to present me?" You know, like someone would say, "Can I hire Al Michaels to present me?" Right?
In the room, yeah.
In the room, yes.
Yeah.
However, it's not so much who presents you. It is not even so much what they say. I think a lot of voters, myself included, we have our own ideas about a lot of these guys, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you go into the room and you're thinking, I'm not voting for him, right? Regardless of what's being said. Eli Manning, who you know, covering when you were the NFC East man for a company we used to work for, you've seen Eli Manning at his peak, right? He's won 2 Super Bowls. He had a long streak of consecutive starts as a QB. And in my mind, I didn't think he was a Hall of Famer. I just didn't think he did enough. But I had an open mind when Gary Myers, the former NFL writer for the New York Daily News, presented Eli Manning, right? And he made some valid points, but I didn't think he was, because I did my own research on Eli Manning. Frank Gore, who was also for the Hall of Fame this year, he is 3rd all-time in rushing yards, right? I had my own thoughts about him. I think he's a Hall of Famer. Others might not believe that. Some are using his longevity against him in some instances. Some don't think he needs to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. So everyone's got their various opinions about who should be in the Hall of Fame. But I always thought Bill Belichick, with 6 Super Bowl rings and turning around the Patriots into a dynasty, I thought that was a slam dunk.
Yeah, I agree with you. But a lot of fans don't. A lot of fans are happy with this, and it's not a great look, of course, that Polian doesn't really act like he remembers for sure who he voted for. Dungy's in there too. You got some Colts. You know, you just have so many.
You got some Colts. You got some rivals.
That's got to be interesting when you're presenting. Now, by the way, this used to be everybody would hole up during Super Bowl week. How is this done now? Is this a Zoom type deal, or do all y'all gather together? How does this go now? This voting process.
It's a Zoom call.
Yeah.
I would say, man, about 3 years ago, they tried to bring us to Atlanta for a real in-person session. Because as you know, Matt, you're right. They used to get together before the Super Bowl and then vote. But now what has happened is the Hall of Fame has gotten kind of commercial. So they like the knocks. So they like to bring a TV crew to, say, Matt Mosley's house and knock on his door and surprise him and say, hey, you got in the Baylor Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful moment because your family's there, a close personal friend is there, and they present that to you. So now we don't vote the week of the Super Bowl. We vote in early January, and basically the 3.5 weeks between when we vote and the Hall of Fame is spent knocking on the doors of the new Hall of Famers for television. So the last 3 years, it's been a virtual discussion. The Hall of Fame has told the voters they hope to possibly bring us all together at some point in person, because I think an in-person conversation might be better than a Zoom call.
That's interesting. Do the John McClanes and a lot of these people that have retired, can some of those people stay on the deal? I mean, Peter King was on it forever. I don't believe he is anymore. Some people retire. You quoted in your column your story that I really enjoyed in the Morning News, Dallas Morning News website. Glauber, who's a friend of ours, he no longer votes. Can some of those guys who aren't as active as someone like you in the business anymore, do they still keep voting, I guess? I mean, the truth is, now that I think about it, Polian doesn't really have a job, and he's still voting. So, yeah, I guess the answer to that is yes. Hey, I would vote against whatever Myers said. No, I'm kidding. Gary's a friend. That was one of my favorite Myers stories. I got up after a Giants game, and I told him, I'm like, Gary, I said, man, I got some good stuff down there in the locker room. I got to tell you, I got some really good stuff. And Gary looks at me, and he was being as serious as he could be. He's like, Mosley, I have an embarrassment of riches. And he was not being ironic. In his mind, he's like, I pretty much have all the good stuff. Cal, who presented Belichick?
Ron Borges.
Who's a guy who's retired, long time writer. Okay,
right, for the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So, but I guess it's only so much I can say.
Yeah, I get it.
But there were great presentations, right?
Okay.
I really hate this because the Hall of Fame should be about who got in, right, instead of who didn't get in. And then after we voted, I said, I think we'll have a really good class. That's how I felt, right? I felt like we'll have a really good class because Drew Brees was up, Fitzgerald was up, Darren Woodson, Jason Witten. So there was a lot of good candidates, Frank Gore, and I felt good about however this is going to play out. Adam Vinatieri, Bill Belichick, it's going to be a really good class. And now that it's been revealed in some ways that Belichick is not getting in, I don't know if it puts a cloud over. I don't know how you feel about that, but it almost puts a cloud over the class because it's going to be a good class whether you have Belichick or not, right? Because there's some guys who are very well deserving of getting in.
Totally agree. I think it's a great point. It also does not help visually or optically that Kraft is still trying to get in at the same time that now we know Belichick's not going to get in. And those two have had a very public falling out.
Right.
And, we've joked about Jerry fighting to keep Bob out. Now they've kept Bill out. And everybody, of course, weighs in. Of course, what happens is they, now will attack. It's like the Baseball Hall of Fame. People hate that process because it's kind of too hard. And, do we keep the cheaters out? And then, of course, people will bring up Pete Rose. People already have. And the cheaters in baseball to go, they're out. Why shouldn't Belichick be under the same thing? And, again, I can refute all that. But there are some people, you're never going to get them past that. Now, the problem is there were at least 11 people in that room that, again, he'll get in. Okay, let me ask you this. How long will it take? You think he'll keep being brought up until he eventually gets in? Don't you think the committee, the panel and everybody will try to right this wrong as quickly as next year's voting? I mean, is that probably what will happen in your mind?
Well, in the summer, there's a subcommittee. There's a senior subcommittee, a contributor subcommittee, and a coaches subcommittee. And so they look at all the candidates and they say, okay, who is our best candidate from this particular category? And in the coaches, last year was Mike Holmgren, and he didn't get in. So this year was Bill Belichick. So presumably you would think he's good. So these subcommittees will have to decide again if they want to submit Bill Belichick for the Hall of Fame. Because the Hall of Fame changed the process here. When you were a coach, you had to be retired for 5 years before being eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. A couple of years ago, they changed it to 1 year. So that's why Belichick's name came up. Steelers coach Mike Tomlin, who just resigned, if he doesn't coach in 2026, and it appears he will not coach, he can be brought up for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2027. So so it is very interesting, the thought processes of voters and how the process overall from the Pro Football Hall of Fame has changed.
I mean, our old buddy Gary Patterson waited, and he got into College Football Hall of Fame recently. You heard that news. And now he's jumped back in. He went ahead and he'll accept that. And now he's going to be the USC defensive coordinator. Calvin, this is good stuff. I really appreciate it. This is I wanted to visit through some of this. And so I really appreciate you shedding light on it. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you at least one Cowboys question. Did this Christian Parker hire? Good kid. That's right. He's only like 20 years younger than us. They're letting kids up there now. I guess to fans, this is exciting in a sense because it's different than what Jerry normally does with his coordinators. He loves, especially defensive coordinator. He loves the former head coaches, the head coaching experience. This not only is this not a former head coach, he has not called plays before, but he is viewed as a hot, up-and-coming, big-time. Now, we've seen these guys before, Calvin. Chris, what's his name? What used to be with the Seahawks. Was that second? Yeah, we were like, hey, man, this guy'd be a great guy. He'd be a great defense coordinator. I don't even know where Chris Richard is these days. So this guy is got the hot hand. He's with the Eagles. How do you think this is going to go? And, like, a 34-year-old guy doesn't exactly have a huge Rolodex of like, oh, I'll go hire this huge, all these veteran great defensive coaches. How is this? What do you think of the hire, and how is this staff coming along that he's trying to put together?
I was surprised they hired him, not because I don't think he's any good. I was just surprised based on what you said. Jerry Jones has very rarely hired guys who have never had experience at calling anything. So, and Christian Parker is one of those guys. He's a young guy, as we said, 34 years of age. When Tom Landry got the job in 1960, he was 36, right? So there's something to be said for youth and that you can get some success. I don't believe his Rolodex is as bad as it seems. He had coached in Denver, and he had coached in Minnesota, and he had coached in Philly. So he does have a lot of people at his disposal that he could probably hire from. Marcus Dixon, an old friend of ours, used to play for the Cowboys. He was a D-line coach in Minnesota. I think he's going to bring him in to be the D-line coach. He comes from the Vic Fangio tree. Vic, as you know, was a former defensive coordinator in Denver, and he's currently the defensive coordinator in Philly. So I think he'll get some guys from that tree to bring with him. Maybe he keeps a couple of guys that are currently on the Cowboys staff here or there. From my understanding, he's a good teacher. He relates well to players. He has a unique way of getting the scheme taught to players. And that means his schemes are not too exotic, but the schemes are flexible enough to fit the players that he has. And as the Cowboys stressed to me, he's a very good teacher. Coach Brian Schottenheimer wanted that in the next coordinator, and he wanted also someone who could develop some players, something that Mike Zimmer and Matt Eberflus did not do in their 2 years combined as a defensive coordinator. So I think it's a good hire, but as Matt, as you know, of all these hires, if it doesn't work out, it wouldn't surprise us.
All right, buddy. I've heard rumors that you're trying to, relinquish the duties of like the Calvin Watkins mock. I always loved a Watkins mock draft. You remember the Mosley mock? Those things they were mocked more than they were read.
The draft was something else. Oh my goodness.
Oh man, but hey, I'm kind of like Gosselin. I like a good top 100 list, and if I can hit like 87 of those, and what happened, by the way? Isn't it interesting that young writers, we were trained up a certain way, and we all had different skill sets. But the one thing we didn't try to do was like watch a bunch of film and become like self-appointed draft experts. But it almost happened overnight. It's like now, if you're covering the league and you're like in your 20s and 30s, you were kind of like you break all these players down on film. I think I'm past the point of trying to do that, Calvin. But anyway, it's an interesting process. I remember years ago, like Brazos would try to get me to come over and watch film at his house. And I'd end up back there playing with a dog or something. I just couldn't. I couldn't stay focused. Archer was up there acting like he knew what he was doing. I was completely unfocused, as you might imagine. Calvin, I appreciate it, man. Keep up the good work. And I appreciate that column you wrote. I thought that was a good explanatory type deal. And we'll see what happens. People will demand change, and who knows? Then they'll try to identify the leaker. But we know the leaker cannot. I don't think it can be coming from the voters, because you guys don't know. Yeah.
No, I think it's someone on Belichick's side. There's a certain point when if you go, I haven't heard from anybody in the Hall of Fame, that must mean I didn't get in, right?
Yeah.
Just knowing how things go. And I'm sure Belichick, I don't know if it was him personally or someone close to him, I'm sure they made a call to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and someone said, no, you didn't get in because we've completed our knocks in a sense. So so I'm sure he had an idea, and then 2 ESPN reporters come fishing for information, and that's how it happened. But I doubt that. I seriously doubt that the voters didn't know, right? Now what happens is after you find out he didn't get in, then I'm sure they called a couple of voters asking them for some information about what happened.
Yeah. All right. Well, you know what's going to happen here. Kraft's going to get in, and Belichick's not, and it's going to be a whole thing. Hey, I really appreciate it. Love talking to you under any circumstance. Yeah, but that was fun to catch up with you, and tell your boys I said hi. In fact, I look at box scores from time to time for a team that I didn't really know in the past, but
me neither.
You've had Division I athletes. You had one son playing at Kentucky earlier this season in a game, and I love it. I love seeing how many minutes and what he scored, and it's a pretty neat thing to follow, because I knew your kids when they were tiny little guys, and to see them grow up like they are, it's an amazing thing. So, all right, buddy, I appreciate you.
All right, buddy, take care of yourself.
There he goes, Calvin Watkins of the Dallas Morning News, who is a voter. And I thought that was some interesting stuff about that class. And interesting, Ron Borges, I've known Ron over the years. He's very well known in New England circles, but of course, they'll blame him for Kraft not getting in. Wow. And it will be a cloud over this class for sure. Kev, I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's take a quick break, and then our buddy Cam Stuart, who huge Patriots guy, and obviously he was probably very upset about this news that Bill Belichick not going in. We'll get Cam's take on this enormous story with Bill Belichick not getting in as a first ballot Hall of Famer despite his 6 Lombardis. Cam Stewart joins us next.
Save big during the Start Something New sales event at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Drive a new Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab with $13,000 off, or choose 0% financing. Get a new Laramie Crew Cab 4-wheel drive with 3.9% financing for 72 months, plus $15,000 off MSRP. Explore in a new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, starting at $31,990. Happening now at Allen Samuels.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Ready for a better kind of primary care?
At Patient First Direct Primary Care, you get unlimited office visits with same-day or next-day availability.
And instead of rushed appointments, we take the time to actually listen.
There are no insurance hassles, just clear, simple care.
You can reach us by phone or text because access shouldn't be complicated. Our practice has expanded to include Medicare-age patients as part of our direct primary care model.
It's a fresh alternative to the traditional insurance or government-driven systems, care that finally puts you first.
For more information, go to patientfirstdirect.com.
Everybody at Equalife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops made clean, made to clean.
It's not just a glove, it's a 44 Pro. Crafted with dedication, made for performance, and built to last. Get your custom glove today at 44pro.com and experience the 44 Pro difference. That's 44pro.com, 44 Pro.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
I am obsessed with helping business owners increase their traffic and turn it into profit through the power of Pinterest marketing. It's this amazing platform where people are looking for ideas, inspiration. They have a problem and they're actively looking for a solution.
It's hard to find supplements that work. No, thank you. Plant-based supplements made from the Earth's most powerful plants for your immune health, gut health, workouts, and more. Find out more at auraorganic.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Oh, it is the Mosley Show. And, man, thanks for everybody. You've been a part of this one today. Really good visit with Calvin Watkins, a voter on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, represents the Dallas-Fort Worth area, certainly with the Dallas Morning News, and a great friend of mine over the years. Good to have him on and kind of get an explanation. That was Ron Borges who was presenting Bill Belichick. And, boy, Ron's had an interesting relationship over the years with the Patriots. So sometimes you shoot the messenger and people think, well, it's this guy's fault. It's the presenter. But the truth is, a lot of times you can make the most beautiful presentation in the world, and if the voters don't want you in, you don't get in. We have had more breaking news on that front, leaks coming all over the place. And Ian O'Connor, who writes for the Athletic, he reported 24 minutes ago that Eli Manning he fell short this year. So you will not get Belichick in, and Eli Manning will not get in. The Pro Football Hall of Fame stopped telling its own voters who got it because there were leaks last year. Now they don't know, but there are leaks anyway. And so that has to be coming from somebody at the Hall of Fame. I think this is so messed up that I think some of these voters will just say to heck with it. We don't need this. Why do we need to be hated? You know, I sat here and voted like I thought that Bill Belichick should go in. And now I've got to explain myself and come out and try to clear my name. Boy, speaking of a guy who we need to clear his name, it is now time to be joined by local broadcaster, national broadcaster, good friend, former co-host of mine who has chosen to be a co-host with another man. And it's okay. It's okay. I've dealt with it in the only way I can, just in a very petty manner. But I'm dealing with it. I want to welcome on to the program a man by the name of Cam Stuart.
And co-host is a bit of a stretch on the Pete Souza show, but it's flattering to me.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly leaned on you and really enjoyed our time together at ESPN Central Texas. And so when I suddenly had an opening, I thought you would just dive at it and just be tearing down the walls to rejoin me. I don't think that's actually what happened. And so I have ended up with a Hoosier Hall, Kevin Hoosier Hall.
You're welcome.
There he is. Welcome. There he is. He's got longer hair than you. And he happens to be associated with his alma mater is a national champion. Ours was won in 2021. That now feels a long, long time ago. Have you noticed how positive though I'm trying to be? Like, instead of just being this is awful. I mean, I think it's pretty easy for you and I to talk about how bad Baylor men's basketball is right now. It's not as easy to just try to point people toward, listen, this has been a decade or really even 15 to 20 years of greatness. Okay. Mm-hmm. Can we put up with one just total stink bomb? And I know some people thought last year was a stink bomb.
Yeah.
If you did, let me present this year's evidence. But you know what, Cam, the thing I like about you and the thing I like about myself, if I might say that, is that at 5:30 today, at 5:30 Central Time, you operate in where are you these days?
I'm in Boston again.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're in Eastern. So it'll be 6:30 for you. You've been in Chicago.
Yeah.
You spent some time in Charlotte. You used to be in Waco, so it's a little bit hard to keep up. That is great to have you back in the hub city. That's where you belong. That's where you function the best. But even with your huge social calendar, and tonight's probably like trivia night for you and Grace.
Oh, we did a cooking class last night. So today has been. You would love it, Matt. I mean, making fresh pasta at a glorified deli down the street. So
that's
we had
nice.
a great time. It was great.
Yeah, that's what people do that are young and in love, and the honeymoon phase has not ended. 30 years in, you're just happy to if something arrive on the table. But I'll tell you what's great about this marriage that I'm in for many, many years, 28 going on 28 years, is just you want somebody that when you're snowed in and you literally can't go anywhere for 3 days, you need somebody that you love being around. Because if you didn't, that would be awful, right? You can't escape. And I will say our little walks out in the snow and hanging with a dog, I have a great situation. It just reminds me that I made a really good decision. I don't know if she would agree with that. That she made a good decision. Okay. This
Speaking
news
of bad decisions.
Yeah. This news that broke, Bill Belichick, what was your level? Did you have the immediate, and by the way, Kevin has loved this photograph, this little video of can you see that? Yeah.
I saw it. Yeah. That was kind of my reaction.
Of Bill reacting. your first reaction, shock, and then your second reaction probably like this checks out. This checks out for people's contempt of this guy. What was your level of surprise?
Yeah.
And was it one of anger, or was it one of like, of course they're going to do this to Belichick?
I was going to say there was some anger in between, anger sandwich there, anger in the middle, and then well, what are you going to do? And as soon as the name Bill Polian came up, I said, well, okay, yeah, this is starting to check out now. But it's crazy, Matt. Like, we can do the ESPN stuff all day with Cam Newton ranting and raving about how this Patriots team is lucky and they haven't played anybody. And it's just like, okay, whatever. But if we're talking about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we're not talking about a talking heads show. We're not doing that. We're not talking about a clip on TikTok or Twitter. We're talking about the Hall of Fame. It's supposed to mean something. And to not include Bill Belichick, even on the first ballot, is to me just certifiably insane. It's asinine. It doesn't make much sense, to the point where I was doing my show earlier and I was debating not talking about it. Obviously, we have to talk about it, but it's one of those things that's so basic that it unified pretty much everybody in the sports world of like, what are we doing here? Like, what more explanation do we need to have? It's like keeping Michael Jordan off the first ballot because he played baseball. Like, it's silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Now, the fans, and we happen to have a Colts fan and an Indianapolis guy right here on this program. But and it's not just the fans. The people in that room, we just had a voter on, and he couldn't really, get into exactly what was being said. But, he did speak to the fact that when you present somebody, you talk about the pros. And generally, I think when you present them, you just talk about the pros. You don't, try to present the argument and then present your counter argument. But it came up in that room, obviously, about the Spygate. And even Deflategate, I'm sure, came up. And it's bad optics. I think there is an argument to be made that they have a horrible process, a voting process. I think that's fine. And there may be some truth to that. But the fact that you have Dungy and Polian and these huge sort of anti-patriots characters over time in that room, in that voting, is tough. Now you go, well, Matt, that's just 2 votes. Well, but let's not act like they don't have influence. I used to have this Bill Polian joke series, and it was mainly it wasn't even based on the Lamar Jackson stuff. He had an air about him when he was on ESPN, and I thought he came across as extremely sort of self-important. And so I used to, as I tended to do, I had a whole Polian joke series where I would kind of go after him on Dallas radio and all this kind of stuff. Well, now I think I've got more ammunition than ever, but he's a very old man now, to the point I don't like beating up on him. First of all, I know one of his sons now, but that was kind of sad yesterday for him to go, because it looks like he's lying. He either has really bad memory loss, because I do think, he's older, so that could be the case. But the quote was, "I'm 95% sure that I voted for Belichick." So again, it's a bad look. And terrible. The truth is, a better look would be just owning it and going, heck yes, I voted against him. You had Spygate, you had Deflategate, and you had all of that. But it just, to me, it's all an extremely bad look. And then you heard the breaking news also, Eli Manning. Eli Manning being kept out for a few years is way more defensible than keeping out Bill Belichick.
I agree 100%. 100%. And with the Polian not remembering part of this, it's like, man, if you can't remember that, and maybe it is a memory loss thing, I don't think we can have you voting at that point. I don't think we can have you in the room with the voters making these cases if you can't remember who you voted for. Like this whole process is about remembering stuff. You're supposed to remember these guys' careers and what they did. I think that becomes really questionable. And I'd go as far as saying the 11 or more guys who did not vote for Belichick, they should probably have their votes looked at here and whether they should be a part of the process in the future. And I know Jimmy Johnson, the great Cowboys coach, would agree with me with his tirades on Twitter today. But to your point about Polian and, his polarizing nature, so to speak, it's funny to say that comparing it to Bill Belichick, who's very polarizing. But you just can't help but look at their history together. Right? Like, I wish Bill Polian was my agent because, boy, can he convince some people. He somehow got the greatest coach in the history of the sport not get in the Hall of Fame the first year. And he got the rules changed after the Patriots beat their butts every year. He got the rules changed. So Bill Polian, man, he has got some unbelievable persuasive skills about him. But you look back at that history.
Yeah. You're right. But we should add at least 11 people, and he may have been influencing. Dungy may have. It may be completely unfair to Dungy. Maybe Dungy voted for Belichick. I don't know. But because Dungy's really good friends with Rodney Harrison and some of those Patriots, so maybe it's unfair to do that. But right now, it looks really bad. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, looking back at that history, with he and Dungy going against Belichick all the time, and they couldn't beat him. They did it one time, paled in comparison to the other times that they could not. This felt like, 20, 30 years of these people not being able to get one over on Belichick, whether it be the coaches in the room or the executives in the room or the reporters in the room, who got treated like garbage by Belichick for a long time, right? Including Ron Borges. And this is, I think, their way of getting one over on him. And that's just, to me, is not what a Hall of Fame is. And by the way, we do get the same thing in baseball. We do, which gets really scrutinized, the Baseball Hall of Fame. But they couldn't find a way to beat this guy for 20, 25 years. And now they found a way to beat him for a couple of months.
If Borges had a rough relationship with Belichick, it's part of me thinks it's almost good that he presented because he but then people would say the conspiracy would be that he maybe said a bunch of nice things, but also voted against him as he's presenting or whatever. Like they probably, like, at some point, if one of the presenters, for instance, Calvin Watkins is presenting Darren Woodson. I covered Darren Woodson. Calvin was not on the beat yet when Darren Woodson was still playing, and we were covering Bill Parcells and Darren Woodson. So in some sense, it's okay because he's coming in and he's not really that emotionally attached. I'm not saying he hasn't gotten to know Darren Woodson over the years, but he really doesn't have the relationship that a lot of us have with Darren. We were there. I watched the tail end of his career. Borges was there for all of it. And as you guys know there, because the relationship with the Herald and the Globe, and all those stories, and there's a bunch of bad blood between this guy and that guy and all. But like, it's almost like this judge in this Alabama basketball player case. At some point, if there's enough vitriol or enough like bad blood or history between like Borges and the coach, he should just recuse himself from being the presenter. Or even if it's really a high level type deal, you should recuse yourself from even voting on a certain person.
Be honorable.
But again,
that would be honorable.
And at some point, by the way, these guys that like Borges, I don't, does he write for anybody anymore? Like,
I don't know if he does.
Very, very much removed from being a media person in that area. And so for 20 years, 15 to 20 years, sort of after his time as a writer, to still be voting is kind of crazy. I mean, it's kind of like, I think you kind of, at some point, you got to update it. Now,
what I wonder, by the way, real quick, what I wonder about with the Borges thing is I wonder how much he even prepared for this presentation.
Thinking
right?
he would for sure get in.
I mean, yeah, you
Yeah,
just put the
yeah.
resume up. You know, it's kind of like to go back to harken back to your law days. It's kind of like the res ipsa loquitur of this. You know, it's just it all speaks for itself, man. Like, what do you do? Greatest head coach of all time, and you could argue one of the 2 or 3 greatest defensive coordinators of all time. To keep a guy like that out on the first ballot is, again, it's crazy.
I used to have this professor. I think it was Professor Featherston in law school. And he would like finish these statements and go, he would always say, King's X. And I remember thinking like, wait, what does that mean? What's that? What is that in this context? Why does he keep saying that? But it was kind of like what you were just saying. I think that was his way of like kind of encapsulating, King's X. And I do remember sitting out there and going like, now wait, I don't understand exactly what he means by that here in this context. Ooh, those are rough memories. As those law school memories come flooding back. I tell you what, I want to bring on Kevin Hoosier Hall because he represents, Cam, someone who the Deflategate, and we realize, I think logically in our minds, he won 6 Super Bowls. And I want to hear Kevin's take on Deflategate, and then Cam,
The Deflategate theory, if we could. There's nothing real about it. So yeah.
Well, but it did.
It was
happen.
cold outside. That was real. Yeah.
Also, nothing not real about it.
I want to. Okay, I've already kind of dismissed Deflategate. I actually meant to say Spygate if I said Deflategate. Okay. Spygate was an actual thing, and they were caught in it, and they were punished. And Bill was fined $500,000, and I think the organization may have been fired $250,000. I think in
retrospect, draft pick, yeah.
And they were adopted first-round draft pick. Mm-hmm. Now, some would say it was not enough. Some would say, well, look, they shut down that, and then they immediately went back to winning. But Kev, and knowing you're a Colts fan, but I do think you represent a lot of people out there that were, as you put it earlier, pleasantly surprised by this outcome. Why do you agree that Bill Belichick should have to wait to get in if he gets in at all?
Well, we talk about respect for the Hall of Fame, right? And this enshrinement that means so much to so many people. Only 29 coaches have ever been enshrined in the Hall of Fame. To say that you are allowing a proclaimed known cheater to participate and be enshrined in that is a disgrace to the Hall of Fame. No matter how many wins you may have, those are all tainted by the fact that you are a cheater. Ask most people who have a moral compass and they will say, yeah, that shouldn't be allowed. And so do I apologize on Polian or Dungy or the Colts organization? I mean, or say being the forerunner for getting Dan Snyder dismissed for actually having a backbone in this? No, I've said for a long time that working for the Patriots, being in the Patriots organization is like working for the mob. Do you want to have Al Capone as a Hall of Fame member? Probably not.
It'd be kind of like having O.J. Simpson in the Hall of Fame. Oh, wait,
Agreed.
They do have that. They do have that. O.J.
Should
Simpson's
take that
bust
away
is
too.
in the Hall of Fame. They also, Bill Cowher is one of those coaches in the Hall of Fame. And if I could present, I've got a video in here from Bill Cowher at Radio Row talking at the Super Bowl. This was 8 or 10 years ago about Spygate. This is coming from a Hall of Fame coach.
I would just say to you in regards to Spygate, they were doing nothing different than anybody else was doing. We don't have to worry about it in today's game because today's game, we have the microphone. You can talk to the people on the field. Back then, you had the signal. We had wristbands. Okay, so the wristbands we would use, and Coach LeBeau was old school, and Coach LeBeau said, okay, I will do the wristbands. He did it for like one series. And then all of a sudden, he got back and hey, guess what that is? It doesn't take long. That's man-free. Okay, that's single high.
So his signals on the sideline is what you're talking about.
Yes. I mean, we're trying to pick them up as well. I mean, they did a better job of picking up our signals than we did pick up.
So why can Bill Cowher do it and get in the Hall of Fame?
Listen, There is a difference from being active on the field and doing it live and in person and recording someone's practices.
Well, no. Whoa, now this is perfect because that never happened. That never happened. That was a made-up story. John Tomasi got duped. He put it in the paper at the Boston Herald, Ron Borges' paper, days before Super Bowl 42. He got completely duped. There was never a practice filmed. There was never a walkthrough filmed, ever. That is completely made up.
But it's interesting, Cam, because Kevin's not alone in attaching that story, which Tomasi is lucky to even have a career. Yeah. I mean, it was one of the most crazy getting a story wrong ever because it like blew up Super Bowl week. I was there and it turned out to be wrong. And I know Tomasi and he recovered from it somehow. It was like covering the Red Sox or somebody, after that. So Kevin, Cam's right on that. We don't want to dunk on you too hard on that, but that one was proven to be wrong. I totally get where you're coming from because a lot of fans, where there's smoke, there's fire. So every allegation, when you get caught doing something like Spygate, sort of gets attached. And like, hey, you remember that? You remember that? Well, that was wrong. But now, Cam,
because now you're talking about the character of an individual. And once that disintegrates, what's left, honestly?
I mean, there's some bad hombres in the Hall of Fame, man.
Yeah, we got it's full of bad characters.
So, Cam, would you consider Tom Brady to be the greatest quarterback of all time?
Yes.
Okay, so this is Belichick's record without the greatest quarterback of all time. 83-104. He has less than a 50% win rate without the quarterback. So, a la C.J. Stroud being a Nico Collins merchant, as in recent days, or Shea Gilgeous-Alexander being a free throw merchant, isn't Belichick just a Tom Brady merchant then? All of his Super Bowls riding on the coattails of him.
Yeah, and all Bill Walsh's Super Bowls came with Joe Montana. All Chuck Noll's Super Bowls came with Terry Bradshaw. It's the only coach that we do it to, and I'm not really sure why, but it is the only coach we do it to. Every great coach has had a great quarterback with them at some point or another, some longer than others. Obviously, Belichick and Brady did it for a long time. I don't know why we punish him for that. And, hey, I mean, he's won a playoff game with the Cleveland freaking Browns, man. I mean, that should be enough to put him in the Hall of Fame right there. They've only had one since then.
So, just to be clear, you're Tom Brady and Terry Bradshaw and Joe Montana all the same level then?
I mean, Brady's better than them, but like, is he leagues higher than Joe Montana? Probably. Joe Montana won 4 Super Bowls. He's better. Yeah, but that's like, Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. They're both pretty damn great. You know what I mean?
Yes. Now that I think about it, like Brian Billick, under Kevin's definition, winning one with Dilfer, we probably ought to get him in the Hall of Fame, Cam. Get Brian Billick in the Hall of Fame. He did it with an inferior quarterback. The Chicago Bears played the Colts in the 2006 season in the Super Bowl, and Lovey got them there with Rex Grossman. So let's get Lovey in too. I had the same, and Kev, you can tell. It's funny, Cam and I did not compare notes. That's exactly what Cam just said. Is exactly what I texted you back. What about Landry with Roger? What about Chuck Noll with Terry Bradshaw? Like, you just name, great coach after great coach. The thing is, and Cam, you can speak to this. In those early days of Brady, they had to. That was kind of a fascinating time because he was basically getting to have what was supposed to be Drew Bledsoe's career, right? Bledsoe gets Wally Pipp basically, and they get Tom in there. But in those early days, while Tom was good, they had to do it with like patchwork defense. I remember they were using that one receiver to play cornerback in some of those early days. That was some of the greatness of Bill. Like, Parcells is unbelievable. I'd never take anything away from Parcells, but Bill was with him when he won 2 of those Super Bowls. He was his defensive coordinator. And now Bill had I was going to say Bill had a defensive background. Bill Parcells actually was calling the offensive plays for the Cowboys when he was here. So Bill could kind of swing either way from a coaching standpoint. But I think if we're going to, go ahead.
I was going to say, to your point, talking about those early teams that the early winning Patriots teams with Belichick, like this team that we're watching in 25 and 26, pretty similar to that 01 team in terms of its makeup. In fact, I would say the quarterback this year statistically is better than Brady in that year. Not as clutch yet, but very similar. And they didn't score a lot of points getting to the Super Bowl. They went into Pittsburgh and they had 2 non-offensive touchdowns and 1 offensive touchdown thrown by Drew Bledsoe. They had the Snow Bowl the week before. That was 16-13. They were down 13-3 in the fourth quarter. So, it actually is pretty similar. So while everyone, in the national media is dunking on how the Patriots offense right now can't move the ball, that's kind of how it started with the first leg of the dynasty, so to speak, back in 01. And not for nothing, Matt, but the quarterback coach for the Patriots that year in 2001, Bill Belichick. Their quarterback coach died in training camp, and Bill Belichick took over as the QB coach, as the head guy. Something to think about. Maybe he made Tom Brady. People have said
I think it was bad. It was rough for him because Tom goes to the Bucks, and of course the Bucks go win a Super Bowl. And then, what's all funny too is Bob Kraft is also up for the Hall of Fame, and that's going to be ugly. What one of the voters told us earlier today was like, hey, there's going to be a cloud over this class. And if Kraft goes in and Belichick doesn't, it's going to add even more fuel to the fire.
Which, by the way, Matt, that's realistic here. Let's lay this out because everyone says, oh, Belichick will get in next year, and obviously he should. But let's just say the Patriots win. Let's say they beat the Seahawks. Then you got a recency thing, and you're talking about Robert Kraft going to a Super Bowl already with 3 different quarterbacks, 3 different head coaches, and possibly winning with a second set after rebuilding the team. I think the voters really look at that next year, Matt, and say, we've had Jerry in here for a decade for some reason when we haven't had Kraft, and he could do it again if they beat the Seahawks. And that could push Belichick to a 3rd ballot.
Ooh.
From an Indy perspective, also in the Hall of Fame, Reggie Wayne is due his this year.
How many times has he been on the ballot?
This is
he's a Hall of Famer, former Patriot,
I think. The fact that Andre Johnson went before him, he has more numbers in the postseason than Andre Johnson has in a single season.
Yeah, I think Peyton made him.
Yeah, how many stats he played without Peyton?
Reggie went from quarterback Peyton and had to do it on the other side of Marvin, and then had Andrew Luck as his quarterback and had to do it on the other side as T.Y. Hilton. Dude bridged all kinds of things, and I'm telling you, he had
named 2 great quarterbacks.
Yeah,
he had I don't know if that helps your argument. And he had people on the other side that were opening things up for him. I think you're making an argument against him getting in.
What's a receiver that didn't have a quarterback that he could get on the ball?
That's a great point. Well, Calvin
it takes
Johnson.
2 to tango.
I guess he had Stafford, but for a while. But that's a great point, Kev. That's a great point.
I like hearing from Kevin. I mean, and now I'm hurt, Cam, that he thinks because we think this is ludicrous that Bill Belichick's not in, that means that you and I don't have a moral compass. But that one hurt. Okay, and I'm gonna have to live with that. And then I have to go every day.
There's a phrase. It's called "cheaters never prosper." You learn that when you're really little. If you can't apply that when you're an adult, come on. What are we doing?
I mean, is that a phrase? It's interesting to watch all this play out. And man, Cam, thank you, because we had an actual voter, and then we followed it up with someone that talks about the Patriots a lot. But it is kind of weird, isn't it, that the Patriots are back on their throne and they're going to the Super Bowl and they're going to match up against a team that they had one of those heroic, great memories against. And this hits. It just, man, Wickersham, and it's interesting to look at like who in the media, Cam, comes up with these stories. Wickersham's always there, right? With a Patriots thing. And it's interesting to me that while Brady and Belichick certainly had some rough moments there at the end and after he left, right? They've made up. And so Brady has to do the weird thing where he tries to pacify mom and dad. And he tries to kind of hang in there with Kraft, and he helped. And some of those people might have been duped, as you well know. And you and I have talked about it. I don't know if everybody who participated in that Kraft documentary knew what Robert was trying to do to Belichick, even Belichick himself.
Yeah.
Because
I don't think
Belichick
Parcells
sat
knew.
for that thing, and obviously somebody from Kraft's camp's like, "Hey, Bill, we need you in this. It's going to be awesome." Blah blah blah. And they get Belichick on there, and they're like, "Hey, man, what about this? What about that?" He's like, "Wait, I didn't know I was sitting down for this."
Yeah, here's the episode. We open with the jet security guard busting down Spygate like it's a Law and Order episode. Yeah, I don't think he knew that he was signing up for that. In fact, I obviously don't know Belichick, but knowing how frosty their relationship got, you had to think that he's feeling like I'm going to do Bob a favor here. I'm going to do my old boss a favor. You know, we did have some great times.
Thinking
together.
that could have even led to a healing process.
Yeah.
I'm going to sit down and do the old man a solid.
Yeah. That was a tough moment for us, that series. I made it through about 4. And then I had that episode where, you know, they were basically asking the question if Bill Belichick made a killer out of Aaron Hernandez. And I was like,
he put the order out.
I think I'll go watch some Simpsons reruns now. Yeah.
I brought up with Kevin earlier, like there's interesting characters involved in these stories. You know, Tommaso's, and I was like when Kevin wandered off into that area, I'm like, oh no, Cam's coming in off the top rope. But I brought it up with Kevin, the Kravitz angle. You know, that guy that was a former columnist for the Indy Star, then became like a writer for a news station or something like that in Indianapolis, and he was involved in Deflategate. And then that was an interesting one because even my little kid at the time, like little kids loved that story because they were studying about like the science of things and something about like how much air was in a ball or letting the air out of a ball really appealed to little kids. They really enjoyed that scandal.
Oh,
but
man.
That was one where my late great buddy took a hit on that story because Chris Mortensen, what was his part of it? Did he say that 12 of the he had a real specific number
12 of the 13.
footballs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So he had that report. He had that like kind of the metrics of it.
But Kravitz had something.
I think Kravitz was
in that game.
I think he was the one who
initial
posted
story.
Yeah, like 1 or 2 in the morning, which game I was at, by the way. I felt those balls, trust me. Where Kravitz, I think, made the initial report of the Colts are, you know, they had this complaint. They took the balls at halftime or whatever it was. I think he had the first report on it. And then Mortensen had kind of the details and Sal Palantonio took on the rest from there. But I have to stop it at that because he's going to be on the Pete Souza show this week. So I got to.
Who, Sal Pal?
Yeah. Heck of a reporter.
He's on my show. I'm gonna have a little talk with old Pete. You know, we have our
just like the old John Morris talk.
Oh my goodness,
back in the old days,
went over pretty well. Thank you, Cam. I appreciate it, man. That was really enjoyable time, and it brought me back to some old memories.
Good stuff. Thanks for having me, Matt. Always appreciate it.
Okay. There he goes. Cam Stewart Show. He's also can be seen on the Pete Souza Show. He's a big part of what we do at Rogue. Also part of the Locked In family. The Locked On, I should say, not Locked In. That's what we used to do at Baptist churches, like lock-ins. Locked On. It's a good deal. That's a good thing. Okay, Kev, we got some final comments on this. That was good. I'm glad you jumped in there and got your shots in. And we had a really healthy discussion, I thought, of Bill Belichick being left out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The shocking news yesterday that he was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I'll tell you who's not a second ballot Hall of Famer. There he is, reacting to it. Do we have Eli doing that? We need to find a real sad Eli, because now Ian O'Connor, earlier breaking news, Eli Manning is not going to make the Hall of Fame. I honestly thought that
we don't have a video of Eli
help.
doing that, because Eli beat that man twice in the Super Bowl.
That's a fair point. Of course, they did win 6 of them. All right, it is the Mosley Show. We got a game tonight. Okay, I'm gonna watch. I'm not giving up on these Bears. Had a couple of I don't know if I'd call that Nebraska loss. I thought that Nebraska loss made Nebraska look even better. I'll tell you why I'm now buying the Cornhuskers in a big way as the real deal. And in some other major college basketball news, we'll deal with that. In one new hire in the NFL, we got a new head coach with the Cleveland Browns. We'll discuss next.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we were hoping Coach Collin would bring that championship mindset to do whatever she has to do to take our workplace culture to the next level.
Well, these donuts are pretty good.
Guys, how we doing?
We're good, Coach.
Craig! What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You have to dunk it.
So far, I think our employees are really enjoying it.
Not everything's a basketball thing.
Did you say something, Craig?
No, ma'am.
That's what I thought.
Dude, I think she likes you.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor Women's Basketball.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone, like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on their screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Golf Partner, overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Designed to elevate the off-road experience, enabling adventurers to conquer any terrain. For 50 years, you've trusted us on your toughest recoveries, to your most breathtaking destinations, and in countless unforgettable memories.
Oh, it is Matt Mosley. I was just reaching out to one of our top executives, huge part of the Mosley Show. That would be over at Central National Bank. Oh, Kev, put it up there on the screen, please, for me. There it is, CNB. And appreciate, I was just, I'm looping you in, Kevin, because I want to get these new commercials on. I think that's what people really tune in, is just to kind of see me do whatever it is I do during breaks. Okay. Today, Kevin, you and I are going to be, after the show, we're going to do like a little promotional type video. So if people are wondering, why does Mosley not have his cap on? For one day, I thought, you know what, let's go capless. Let's put on a nice, Orvis type shirt. And let's try to be professional other than wearing the sunglasses. Kev, let's do some Campus Confidential. Today's been largely about our situation with Bill Belichick not getting the Hall of Fame. We've had some tremendous guests in that respect. But there he is, Kevin. Kevin he's so happy to see this day, and Bill to be left. And you're not alone. I think sometimes we in the media, we sort of all are in lockstep on certain things, and most of the response has been, "This is crazy. How can you not let arguably the best coach of all time into the Hall of Fame?" And yet, the voters found a way not to, and 11 or more voters decided not to put Bill Belichick into the Hall of Fame. To me, it's an embarrassment to the process. It's an embarrassment to the Hall of Fame. And I think most people, that either players, coaches, I think most people have that opinion. But I would say the fans, who have already in their mind thought, you know what, he cheated in Spygate, that taints everything. I get it. So I've enjoyed hearing some of Kevin's thoughts.
It's a win for human decency.
I don't even know what that means. But I've enjoyed the discussion and the debate. I embrace debate, as we like to do. Kevin, let's do some Campus Confidential, though. What do you have for us today? Because I'm getting ready at 5:30 to watch Baylor and Cincinnati square off in Cincinnati. Bears 1-6, desperately needing a win. They did win their one conference game in Stillwater, so maybe tonight will be the night they get on a little bit of a run. What do you have for us in Campus Confidential?
All right, so Nebraska fell from the unbeatens to Michigan, like you said would happen last night. Miami of Ohio narrowly escaped UMass after Arizona had the close one against BYU. So which one of those two, Arizona or Miami of Ohio, will be the next unbeaten to go down?
I'd have to look at when Miami of Ohio plays Akron. I'm told Akron in that conference is really good.
I've got the next 3 games of their schedule.
Are they on it or not?
We got Arizona has at Arizona State, Oklahoma State, and at Kansas, the next 3. Miami has Northern Illinois, at Buffalo, and at Marshall.
Well, I think you have to say Arizona will suffer the first loss, and it'll happen at Fall Gallon. They had a meltdown late in that game against BYU, had a 19-point lead, and dang near lost that game. A kid had a great block, come from behind block on Rob Wright late in that game, or BYU would have pulled off the miracle comeback. So they've come close to losing. They're great. Oh my gosh, their guards, Koa Pete's awesome. They got a freshman named Burry, I think is his name. Oh my gosh, they're good. And this thought of, well, you can't win with that many freshmen, whatever.
But you said you're all in on Nebraska. How are you all in on Nebraska now? After they lost.
They're awesome. Well, because I had one kid with a flu, and they had 2 key starters one kid, really good scorer for them, was out with illness, and one of them missed, I think, a second straight game with an ankle injury. And so they went into Michigan shorthanded. And so in my mind, I thought, well, that's tough. I mean, they're missing a couple of their best players. And dang it, if they didn't have the lead for most of that game and looked in a lot of ways like the better team, and unfortunately they did not score. They did not have a field goal, I don't think, for the last 3 minutes and 20 seconds of that game. They had a really bad ending to that game, but they controlled that game for much of the time. So I now am a Nebraska believer because they should have won. And that's why, it pains me to say about this Baylor team, they did lose a couple of good players to season-ending injuries, but it does happen along the way. Now, these Nebraska injuries and illness is not season-ending, okay? So these two things are not alike. But I'm not totally willing to give the Bears the Bodo and Michael Perez excuse. They put together a pretty bad roster, and that's on Scott ultimately, and he takes that. But I'm also trying to remind people that graphic I sent you the other day, Hoosier, the one that had all the Baylor top 10 wins over the past decade, I think it is. And Baylor's literally 4th or 5th in the country at that. So yeah. I'm not going to sit here and act like, Baylor's got a horrible men's program. They're having a horrible season. That is true. That does not mean they're a horrible program. All right, Hoosier, what else do you have?
Well, speaking of Hoosiers, they beat Purdue at home last night at Assembly Hall. Purdue seniors Fletcher Lloyd, Trey Kaufman-Wren, and Braden Smith. That means they can do no better than 4-4 in their time at Purdue versus IU. So it brought up a question to me that I would like you to answer. What are the greatest in-state rivalries in college basketball?
Hoosiers.
Yes, it's getting better.
Okay, I'm sorry. The best
in-state college basketball rivalries.
College basketball. Well, Duke and North Carolina, we have to put them number one because it's just a thing. Okay, it is. It's been a great rivalry over the years, and I would say it's one of the better rivalries in sports. So I would put that number one. I was trying to think in the state of Texas, basketball wise, I think in it, I don't think it's probably, I don't know where we put it right now, but it's getting better and better. Houston and Texas Tech now are in the midst of creating a great rivalry. I'm thinking I would have to say recently, because they've both been so good and these two fan bases hate each other. I would say Auburn and Alabama. That's come back and that's gotten kind of nice. I would say if we want to stay in Big Ten country, I mean, I think that Purdue Indiana thing with Katie and Bob Knight was awesome because Bob hated Gene and he hated it Purdue and where did Bob Knight? Did he go to Ohio State?
Went to Tech. Went to Texas Tech. Ended it there.
No. Where he went to college.
No. He went to West Point with
no, he didn't.
Krzyzewski.
He didn't. He coached there. No, I think he went to. I think he played at Ohio State. I was just trying to think of. I like how sure you are of yourself, but remember, I am a little bit older than you. And my memory, in some ways, is still pretty dang good. In some areas, it's a little rough. I should be careful talking about Polian's memory. There's a chance I forget. Wait, who's the quarterback of the Seahawks? I do know that one. Mr. Darnold. Okay. Let me tell you a few more. Let me give you a couple more. In the Big Ten, I think you have to put. I think you have to put Michigan and Michigan State. The only problem is Izzo has sustained greatness. Michigan's greatness has come and gone over the years. I'm trying to think of some of those other teams up north. Who else is in, like, what other great teams come from Connecticut, for instance? You've got one unbelievable team, but like, what other school up there? They have all those great Big East type rivalries in schools. I guess, who would you say from New York? Because over the years, you would say Syracuse and St. John, I guess.
Okay, yeah.
But see, the problem is Syracuse is now in a different, conference. So you can't really, I mean, most of us still associate them with the Big East, but you can't do that anymore. They're in the freaking ACC. All right. Any others that you had?
So Notre Dame blew a huge lead last night against Virginia, and Virginia came away with the OT win. I use this as a segue to ask you, does Notre Dame deserve an automatic college football playoff bid? That's like the hot topic right now.
Oh, you used the basketball thing to get me into a football topic.
That's right.
That's interesting. First of all, that guy has some bad luck. That Shrewsbury, I think he may be an okay coach. He's probably going to get himself fired because he's just lost way too much at Notre Dame. It's a tough place to win in basketball. Digger did it for a while, and then Mike, what's his name, did it for a pretty good while. I thought they were pretty good under what's the guy who sweeps his hair back? He does TV now. Mike, who was the Notre Dame coach for like 10 or 15 years. I thought that guy was a pretty good coach, but he bottomed out at the end, sadly.
Mike Bray?
Bray, yeah. Did Bray get another opportunity somewhere? Where's Mike Bray now? I've seen him on TV at times. There's some of those guys that get chance after chance after chance, but Mike Bray, his time ended there. Okay, the question is what? Should they get a automatic bid? No.
Yeah.
No, it's silly. It's like, why we already let the Big Ten and SEC run everything. And whatever. I think we've just learned that we have to live with that because they bring in the most money and they bring in the most eyeballs and TV wise and all of that revenue and elsewhere. So, but Notre Dame needs to be asked and told, if you want to be treated like that, you have to join one of these conferences. And all of them would love to have them. Big 12, ACC already has them in every other sport. SEC would take them in a heartbeat. Big 10 would take them in a heart. They probably, from a where they're located standpoint, fit the best with Purdue and the Big 10. That would be the best fit. They obviously play every other sport in ACC, so ACC would want them. But no way in the world do they deserve what they've been given. In fact, they got what they deserved this year being left out because they lost head-to-head against two teams that ended up getting into the CFP. It's not a great argument when you get beat by the teams that actually got in. What are you going? Oh, Miami lost. Miami backed that committee up like crazy. By the way, that was good. That was a good show by Miami because they if they had folded and gotten blown off the field in College Station like a lot of people thought they would, it just would have given more fodder. They got it wrong. They got it wrong. Miami stood up and played, and Mario Cristobal did himself proud, even in the title game.
And it probably gave more validity to the Texas argument since Texas had just blown out A&M by a whole lot more than Miami. Although Miami's got the defense. All right, I'm going to close with a local one. Okay, everybody's talking about DJ Lagway to Baylor and everything. Robinson quarterback who graduates next year. Bryce McCurdy just got a scholarship offer to Baylor. So now you have a reason to check out some Robinson football. How about that?
Yeah, I love this. And, I already had an interest in Robinson football. In fact, there's the voice of Robinson. We may soon be hearing more from him over here at Rogue. But I really, I'm very excited about that. I mean, they need to keep. It killed me when some of these local players that they had spent so much time on ended up decommitting from Baylor at the last minute. And part of that was money related. Part of that was they didn't, know what the future was with this head coach, all of that. Love that London stayed from university. Love some of these local kids. But I'm going to watch. I'm going to probably show up at some Robinson games, and I'll try to put my eyes on the young man who he's in the 2027 class, I guess, and will be going into his final year with the Rockets. All right. Love Robinson. Love all these local teams, and keep your eye on that. Local legends, perhaps headed over to Rogue. I tell you what, man, we have been in acquisition mode, and I love it. I love when we get like that. Kev, thank you to the Brazos Landing. Cannot wait to do our next show there. We'll come rolling into town, and it's going to be so awesome. And it'll be great to be right there on the ground at the Brazos Landing. And I'll get my Bang Bang Shrimp. I may get the BLT. Yesterday, I got out, and I had to go support local. All right. Now, Waco is also local to me, but I'm in Dallas right now, and I'm just not quite ready to brave that long of a trip. But I promise you, Thursday, Friday, when the roads are truly clear, Mosley's going to come racing into town, and I'm going to get a Schmaltz's sandwich, and then I'm going to go over to get me some Bang Bang Shrimp. It's going to be great. And appreciate Britt Tolley over there at Schmaltz's. And tomorrow, for Thursday, we'll have our huge Schmaltz's trivia question, and it will be awesome. All right. Thank you for everyone who's been a part of this. Kevin, good stuff. You're wrong, but I really appreciate you, your passion and your arguments. And and Cam was a great guest. And then Calvin Watkins was awesome, coming in from the voted for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So really tremendous show today. We'll try to do another one tomorrow. Thanks for everyone who's been a part of this one. You've been listening to the Matt Mosley Show. See you tomorrow at 1:00 straight up.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. And when it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. With the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. Don't click on links in emails and text messages. Scammers send emails and texts that look real, saying there's a problem with your account or your order. Don't click. Don't do it, ever. Instead, go directly to the company's website and log in there.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Bubble wasn't here. I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.